Thanks very much. Thanks, Laura, and thanks, Owen, for the invitation to speak today. It's an honour and a privilege as a Dublin man, first and foremost, to come in today to share. So, number one, I hope everyone is keeping safe and well, and look forward to sharing a few pieces of where I am at in my role with the GAA, and also personally from a research point of view. So I suppose first things first, before I start maybe sharing coach and player development insights around what's happening now for myself and for the GAA. I think it's important for me to share with you where I've come from, and I suppose people I've learned from and continue to learn from myself. This is just a snapshot of examples. It's quite male dominated, as you can see. My mother holds a very important role down the bottom. So I would have enjoyed sport massively, and particularly GAA when I was younger. I would have played with my local club, Nave Marnock, and been very fortunate to have a brilliant group of caring, nurturing, and coaches that also challenged me when I was growing up in Portmarnock. And I did struggle a little bit from I suppose a mindset and a mental skills perspective, and my own mother would have been a coach, if you like, in her own right. And that book that I've highlighted there was written by Brendan Hackett, who most recently would have supported Ballymun or managed Ballymun to win a Dublin Senior Championship there the year before last. But there's other coaches and I suppose other influencers that I just like to sort of point you towards. And I'm sure everyone on the call has experiences of mentors or people in their lives who have helped them on their coaching or their development journey. So, people that would have challenged me and asked questions of me include Nick Winkelman, who would have been my direct line manager in the RFU. His big piece, as I'm sure people are aware, is around language and the use of coaching language, and also around leadership, how to lead and what good leadership looks like. I was fortunate to work with Jim Gavin in Dublin GAA, and obviously a significant focus on planning and details and the importance and the confidence and the assurance that can be drawn from that. Down the bottom right, I'm fortunate to now be supported by and mentored again by Liam Moggan. I would have started off in my early coaching career, and Liam would have been a key influence and a facilitator of my development when he was with Sport Ireland Coaching, or Coaching Ireland as it was at the time. And Liam now is chairman of the coach advisory group in the GAA, and he's also part of our national coach development team, which I'll speak about a little bit later on. From an AFL perspective, I was fortunate to be over in Australia for just under 2 years, and Glenn Stewart and Stuart Cormack from a researcher and a practitioner point of view are very influential. And I suppose top left, my last role in the RFU, I was fortunate to work and see professional rugby coaches in action. Noel McNamara being a significant influence, and also Paul O'Connell, who's with the men's senior national team now. So from my own perspective and what my role is now with the GAA, I consider myself to be in a very fortunate position. The big focus and emphasis of my role and what I'm there to serve is around the coach pathway and the player pathway, and to support the implementation of both. That's my main job. To break that down a little bit, and I think we're all gladly aware of this and the big push that's going to happen and is happening with this around just greater collaboration and joining up delivery and ideas around the LGFA and Camogie associations and the GAA, and making sure there's really strong alignment and coherence around what we're trying to do as a Gaelic Games family in delivering really good coaching and coach development opportunities to our volunteers across the country. Obviously, there's professional staff that are there in the counties and the provinces, and it's really to ensure from a national point of view that continue the good work that has been done by Pat Daly, by Peter Horgan, and many in Croke Park prior to myself and Shane Flanagan coming in, and just making sure that coaches and clubs around the country have the coach development supports in place. And also, just down the last point there's a quality assurance piece in place as well. As you'll see in a few slides' time, there has been significant research in the GAA in Gaelic Games over the last couple of years. And there's a massive amount of work being done. There's a massive amount of investment being put in. And the onus and responsibility is on us to make sure there's a quality assurance piece to that as well, because volunteers, and I'm one of those in my own club. There's a lot of time is stretched, and time is quite small, and people are quite time poor, especially we're just coming out touch wood of this pandemic. There's a lot on parents, on guardians, on coaches. So we have to make sure whatever offerings, learning opportunities, or coaching we're asking people to do, that it's really as well supported and quality assured as possible. The second part of the role is around player development. And, not that these two are two distinct or separate things, they very much overlap. But my background, as well as from coaching, is in sports science and athletic developments. And it's just making sure that basic core principles of sports science are integrated into the coaching and coach pathway. And again, that this meets the needs of coaches, number one, and obviously players as well within their care. So it's leading and supporting the development and implementation of a sports science strategy across the country. So I'm going to start with the coach pathway and just give a little bit of insight around what's happening there and what's going on there, and I suppose what the intention is to happen there as well. 2021, and I think just over 3 weeks ago now, hopefully people would have come across this. Peter Horgan and a team of researchers, including key members from the LGFA, the GAA, the Camogie associations, and researchers from across the country, delivered a workforce in Gaelic Games baseline report. And it just gave a very good insight and snapshot around things that we probably know already from anecdotal experience and just having conversations in our own clubs. But it just put it in black and white around what the core needs are and what the challenges are on coaches in our clubs and our communities. Why do coaches take up coaching roles? Well, the club, number one, needs volunteers are really, really needed. But I suppose the key part of why they start on their coaching journey for the majority is because their children or their kids start or want to get involved at the nursery levels, at under sixes, under sevens, whatever the case may be. They go from, holding the cup of coffee on the sideline to actually, going through their safeguarding, their foundation, or their new introduction to coaching Gaelic Games as it is now. And, they're a coach now, and they're hands-on, and they're learning, and they're on that coaching journey. But there's a lot there, and there's a lot of, as I alluded to earlier on, why did they want to get in? Well, it was, yes, because they needed a support with the team. Their children started to play. Maybe they got inspiration from a coach that was really, really good to them when they were growing up in their own club, and they wanted to give something back. Maybe maybe they're still playing, but they probably aren't, and they just miss that connection with the pitch, and this is the next best thing. So there's a list of reasons there, but I suppose the big thing is, from a GAA perspective and a Gaelic Games family perspective, the onus again is on us collectively to make sure clubs can support the volunteer coaches as well as possible, with the learning opportunities that we put in front, but also in the supports we put around them and their teams. I suppose the other key insight, and again, people will probably know this anyway, but it just shines a light on it. As we bring young kids and young children, girls and boys, into the Gaelic Games family, and they begin to come down to the clubs and enjoy playing games and enjoy training, etc., and coming down to meet with their friends from school, I suppose the big piece from our perspective is it very much usually is the least experienced coaches who are working with those least experienced players. So again, from a responsibility point of view and a support point of view, it really points the spotlight on us as organizations, as Gaelic Games family, to really support that early entry piece so really well, from under 12, under 11s down into nursery, and how can we resource and support that as well as possible. And again, just to say at this point, and it's only now in this national role, I really see all the phenomenal work going across the country, in that space. And I suppose the big thing is, the challenge is, there's a massive amount of young players down this morning in nurseries across the country, being supported by coaches and volunteers doing their very best and trying to make sure it's an enjoyable, supportive, and obviously a little bit of a challenging experience as well for the young kids and for the coaches. So again, big responsibility and onus on us. I wanted to share this with you as well, and this came from this study. You know, why would people stop coaching? So yes, we all, you know, might like to think why we get involved, and it's, you know, love of the game and passion for Gaelic games and passion for trying to make a bit of a difference and give something back. But this is important as well. Again, from a support and a resource and a policy perspective, why do people stop? Well, they lose motivation, maybe work commitments take over. We're all just coming out, touch wood, of this pandemic. As I alluded to earlier on, time can be poor, or people can be time poor. Maybe there's not enough support from the club or from the school or from the county or from Croke Park or from, you know, LGFA or Camogie, whoever it is. But I suppose the bottom line, those top 3 or 4, we need to be very cognizant of those and keep our eyes on those, and make sure that, you know, we continue to listen and do an even better job than we have before of listening to happening on the ground, and just taking pulse checks of how people are getting on and what they need. So I think this study has done a great job on shining a light on that. So I just wanted to sort of share with you today that we're listening. As a Gaelic Games family, we're listening, and we're putting things in place to really push on and make sure that those percentages go down. What are challenges? Again, similar to the last one around reasons to stop. Well, challenges, well, it's balancing with all the other life demands that people have. It's, you know, competitions, it's maybe bureaucracy and maybe administration challenges, maybe participation rates. So especially as people may know, as we go up through the pathway on into, you know, adolescence, it can become very challenging. Numbers in teams, numbers in squads start to reduce, understandably so, with the increasing demands on the young players, so the youth players, as they transition into secondary school. So it's all of those things that are challenges that we just need to be aware of, and what can we do to reduce the I suppose the effects of those, and again, support and better support the volunteer coaches on the ground. So I do have a little prize to give out at the end. So what I'd like everyone to do now, just briefly, is I've given a little snapshot of maybe mentors and good coaches of mine and the various, I suppose, qualities that I might have learned from them. What to you is good coaching, or what does good coaching look like? Maybe you're going down to the club now later today, and you're going to see a good coach in action. What does that actually look like when you're looking at that? I mean, what sort of traits does the coach have? What are they doing? What are they saying? So just in the chat box there, just put in some comments, please, around what you think good coaching is, and just give you 30 seconds on that. Anyone that contributes, I'm asking Laura and Owen just to capture all the names, and we'll put them into a little hat and do a draw at the end, if that's okay. So I'll give you another 25 seconds or so. What is good coaching? So Gary is saying positivity and encouragement. Greg, caring, encouraging, and developing, having a focus on developments. Thanks, Greg. Creating an environment that allows players to achieve their potential. Good communication, Peter, yeah. Positive attitude, listening to children. Very good, Denise, yeah. Communication, being a good human being and a good role model. Facilitating learning, absolutely. Learning for coaches and for players. Good communication again. Sharing your knowledge well. Good communication skills, that's coming up a lot. The coach understands their role and the players understand the coach. Yeah, very good. A clear, positive direction, safe environment. Clodagh, enjoy and do it with a smile. Very good, yeah, crucial. Players are going to mirror you and your body language. Energetic, informative. Inclusion, absolutely. Inclusion and fun. Excellent. Okay, thank you. Well, I'm just, thank you for those. So Owen and Laura would have captured those. Just to zoom out briefly before I go into the good coaching piece. Well, again, from a Gaelic Games family point of view, Pat Duffy, who who has left us a couple of years at this stage, but was a massive influence on coaching in Ireland, in his role in Coaching Ireland and Sport Ireland coaching then, and then moved over to UK coaching. But if we get this right, if we get coaching as good as we can possibly get it in our clubs, in our communities, in our schools around the country, and I know there's people tuning in from Australia, from America, around the world, and all our units in the GAA. If we get coaching right, we absolutely give everyone a chance. One of the comments there was inclusion. If we open our arms to the players that come through our gates and support them in a nurturing and a caring, in a positive, challenging way, in the environments we create down in our clubs, it gives everyone a chance to enjoy participating in our games and also to stay participating in our games. So Pat, Duffy, that quote really resonates with me. What are we doing? Again, I'm acutely aware this is extremely male dominant, and this is part of the change that is happening imminently. William Harmon, top right, represents the LGFA on our national coach development team at the moment. Niall Williams represents the Camogie Association. Liam Moggan, as I alluded to earlier on, is part of all associations and has worked and served across them all. Roger Keenan, Ulster GAA, top left. Colin Clear, Leinster GAA. Noel Hartigan with Limerick GAA, bottom left. James Devan over on the right hand side with Leinster GAA, and Damien Curley also with GMIT and Connacht GAA, and Dublin's own and Tyrone's own Ger O'Connor complete the national coach development team. And what that group is charged with doing is supporting coach development initiatives, coaching initiatives, coach pathway initiatives around the country, and working as a team to deliver across the LGFA, Camogie, and Gaelic GAA and the Gaelic Games family coaching and coach development opportunities. So what is good coaching? Well, I asked you guys there, and you all gave, I suppose, insights from what you guys believe it to be. I suppose there's three overarching things, and there's references and reports, etc., that I'll share with Laura and Owen that I'm referring to as we go through this. But there's three good, I suppose, high-level pieces that I've taken out from what I've learned and read over the last 15 to 20 years. Good coaching is building up a repertoire, a knowledge base of understanding, of information, of what good should look like in theory, theoretical knowledge, information around pedagogy, around good coaching principles, yes, around some basic sports science principles, depending on the level of the pathway that you're supporting. It's then also about building up experience in the context of applying that knowledge and understanding what is needed in a given situation, at a given age grade, at a given level, for a given group of young people or a team. And good coaching then critically is understanding why you're doing certain things, why you're sequencing your training session or your practice session in a certain way, why you chose to put in a certain small-sided game versus doing a drill, why you chose to adapt or modify a session right in the middle of it because you didn't feel it was flowing or running as well as you wanted it to be, or the players weren't achieving the outcomes, the learning outcomes that you'd set out prior to the session starting. So good coaching for me is a sort of a combination of those, and it's I suppose the big challenge for us is there's so much knowledge in inverted commas and information out there. It's how we interpret that, how we put that into our experience down on the pitches across the country and across the units around the world with the players in our care. And it's critically understanding why we're doing what we're doing, and we're making decisions around what we're doing in our practice sessions, in our training sessions, and obviously in the games and the matches that the young players and the players play. This is the only text-heavy slide, but I just wanted to give you a little, I suppose, a snapshot of it. And maybe to sort of jot this down, the difference between being knowledgeable and being effective. And Liam Moggan, again, a great mentor to us all within the Gaelic Games family, has a great quote. It's what you do with what you know that matters. So, there's across all walks of life, there's very, very knowledgeable people, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're effective at what they're doing, whether that's, coaching or leadership or business or whatever the case may be. So the challenge for us from a Gaelic Games family point of view, I've highlighted in red there in the second point, is making sure that the educational opportunities that people have exposure to have context. What has happened before, and through no bad intentions of anyone, is maybe it has lacked that context. And this is a challenge across all sports. How can we provide learning opportunities that actually give participants the experience that they need, but also the context of what they need for their learning as well? The reality is coaching and sport is messy in reality, and we need to prepare people, coach learners and ourselves, for that. So yes, we do need to build knowledge in the right way, and build people from coach learners, maybe naive coaches, up to more competent and capable coaches. But for me, and this is maybe where the research, my research comes in, is really looking at the effectiveness and the impact of the learning opportunities that we're asking people, volunteer coaches, to be put through, and how is it actually changing in a positive way coaching practice. Are we helping coaches get better, or is it really just an accumulation of knowledge? This is very much a work in progress, but I wanted to share it with you this morning. It's a working draft, if you like, of what the learning space is in the Gaelic Games family at the moment across all associations. You know, there's webinars such as what we're on today. There's conferences such as, again, today, and the in-person one that we're doing nationally next week. But there's also things like, yes, there's loads of online coaching resources. You know, learning is going down and coaching in your club. That's you building up your experience. Learning is chatting with other coaches more formally. And I know some of the presenters later on will be talking about communities of practice. Actually out actively coaching, people are learning as well. When you're viewing a demonstration of good practice or good coaching for a particular age or cohort of players, that's learning, and that's developing you as well. But over on the I suppose outside of this learning space or learning galaxy is the realities of what learning is. It's very personal, and this is inspired by Liam Morgan again. It's social, it is emotional, and it's messy, and we have to sort of plan and make sure our learning opportunities are sort of taking into account those things. So what we're trying to do from a Gaelic Games family point of view is really put the coach learner and the volunteer coaches, you know, right back at the center of this, and put the responsibility and the onus, if you like, the supported responsibility back on the individual coach to really own their own learning journey. So yes, there will be coaching awards and certifications, etc. But also coming back to our galaxy here, our learning space, how can we and what can we do in the future? What are we going to do from a development point of view to recognize and award people for the learning journeys and the opportunities that they're picking up to develop and learn, to become more knowledgeable, but also to develop their experience and to develop their effectiveness, as I alluded to. So that's what we're about. We're trying to really support that coach learner journey and make it as good as possible. So one of the pieces on that learning in space was this new, the revamped Foundation Award, the Introduction to Coaching Gaelic Games. It was launched a couple of weeks ago by all the associations in Croke Park on the 18th of January. And again, from a national coach development team point of view, I suppose, again, looking at the impact, 300 coach developers across the country have been upskilled to deliver this course. Just yesterday, I posted out from the office here 10,000 Introduction to Coaching Gaelic Games manuals that will hopefully find their way into clubs around the country over the next 2 to 3 weeks ahead of delivery of this course. You know, we're saying to the coach developers that are going out leading this that, you know, for every one of you that goes out to deliver a course, there's 20 coaches or coach learners in your care that are going to be exposed to this. The impact of that is on the 400 players that, you know, they can potentially be down coaching in the club or the school or the community the next day. And again, as some of you alluded to, number one, making sure it's a safe, positive and fun learning environment for everyone. But in yellow there, the big challenge from us as a Gaelic Games family and the development team is the consistency and the coherence of this. So it's a really, really good course. It's been mapped out and planned, you know, extensively. I suppose the real opportunity to do that across the pandemic. But we want to make sure it's delivered consistently well and experienced by everyone as well as possible over the next couple of months or years. The biggest thing from an introduction point of view, for people starting their journey, is, you know, these 6 key objectives. So by the end, you know, the participants in this Introduction to Coaching Gaelic Games, they should be able to understand and list the 6 how-to coach competencies there, number 3. They should be able to, number 6, plan and organize and deliver a quality coaching session. They're only starting off. It is the first gateway course, if you like, on the learning journey. People are only starting off, and we're very cognizant of that. But these are the course objectives, and these are what the coach developers will be, you know, chasing and going after with any coach learners that walk in the doors of the clubs and the schools around the country. What's different, just to share with you, is I think is the experience of these courses. So coming back to that effectiveness piece, as well as imparting knowledge, we want to make sure that the experience of the course is engaging, it's interactive, it's drawing on the massive experience that coach learners will have when they're walking in the door of the course, and making sure that that's captured and that's listened to, and that is part of the course itself. So rather than, you know, previously it would have been theoretical information shared via PowerPoint and some practicals. Now there's a learning wall that consists of visual posters like this that are set up around the hall in the club, or the lecture room, or the hall in the school. And it's very much engaging, workshop-based, forum-based discussions, chats around what good looks like for various pieces and various modules, such as how to coach, or preparation and planning for training and practice sessions. So it's going to feel and look like a different experience. So from a research point of view, for me, and selfishly, I want to really dive into and look at, from a Gaelic Games family point of view, what's the impact of this Introduction to Coaching Gaelic Games course that, you know, people have put a lot of time and effort into designing and developing. Members of the coach development team prior to me coming in. We want to make sure the outcomes are on the right there, and coach learners are walking out the door being able to do those. But how do we know? How do we know that the course has reached its objectives and coaches are more effective, or coach learners are more effective, and you know, the session the following Tuesday or the Saturday morning or in 3 weeks time or in 3 months time is better. The coaching is better. So my professional doctorate research is going to be based initially on the Introduction to Coaching Gaelic Games, and trying to understand the answers, or trying to tease out the answers to those questions around impact and coach effectiveness after coming through that course. The last piece I want to allude to on the coach pathway is just the massive importance of supporting the youth player, and the younger player, the child and the youth. So we're going to speak about the player pathway now, but more and more we're seeing in governing bodies across the world. I have a UK sport example there, and I think it sort of captures it really, really well. Coaches, when players get to the senior level or adult level, you know, 19, 20 and above, the coaching emphasis very much there is refining what has been previously developed, refining, you know, polishing and tweaking and adapting. It's icing. Obviously, it's absolutely critical, and especially at the upper echelons of elite and high performance level, which I've been fortunate enough to be at. You know, there's a massive amount that goes into that. But also on the flip side, and this is where I think we all need to, from a Gaelic Games family point of view, there's a massive, huge importance on defining from a child and a youth point of view what's going to come after, and the massive importance and the value that young volunteer coaches have in the child and the youth part of our player pathway. Because if and when we get coaching right, as Pat Duffy said, it sets that young player up for life. We're retaining in Gaelic Games, we're retaining them in physical activity. They're enjoying coming down to the club, they're enjoying participating, they're challenged, and the coaches are retained and enjoying the whole piece as well. So we're seeing more and more across, as I said, national and governing bodies, the emphasis switch from, you know, this sort of ladder perception that you climb up the pathway to adult and senior level. So actually now it's more, you know, two parallel ladders. The massive importance of having a really, really good underage youth and child development program experience for coaches and players. And also as they go up into adults, the adult end of things and the senior end of things, that the coaching and the player supports are appropriate around that as well. So as we move into the player pathway, I suppose the big thing and learning for me over the last few months is we need to listen to the players more. So we shared the coach workforce report with you there, but also what we found from the talent development report 2 years ago by Michael Dempsey, Brian Cuthbert and Shane Flanagan and a whole team of people, was players. We need to have the players' voices on this. Club players, obviously the county players across the Gaelic Games family, and listen and learn from them of how they're experiencing the player pathway, how they're experiencing the coach pathway. 15% of them took part in the talent review a couple of years ago, as I alluded to. But when we're designing learning opportunities and we're designing courses, players' voices need to be heard around, well, how has that changed and how has that helped the coach that I'm being coached by? You know, what difference does that make? And trying to get feedback from that perspective too. So again, from my own research point of view, that's going to be a key part of it as well. So the player pathway. Hopefully everyone would have seen this in some shape or form. This is, again, a collaborative Gaelic Games family player pathway, and it just graphically visualizes the combination of the club being at the very core of everything we're doing, the development of the players and the, if you like, the overlap between opportunities for some into the talent of the development space, either with colleges or academy squads, and, you know, for the 1 or 2% of the Gaelic Games family and playing population, those that play elite level inter-county. But I suppose the big focus, and I'll speak about the conference later on, for us predominantly is on the club and supporting the volunteer coaches who are supporting in the club from F1, F2 and F3 youth and adults. Next question is, so we had a question around good coaching. Just from a player development point of view, what is sports science, or what's your understanding of what sports science is? I'm going to give you a little a definition from a Gaelic Games perspective in a minute, but just from the floor, have a little think. It could be a word, it could be a definition based on your understanding, but please put them into the chat box now for the next 30 seconds. And again, Laura and Owen will capture the names and we'll put them into the hat at the end. What is sports science? I hear the term a bit in the media and it's kind of bandied about. What's your understanding of sports science? Any takers there? No takers. No takers. No. Or, well, that maybe says why we need to maybe do
better. There's a few things coming in there, Martin.
Oh, sorry, I see that. Sorry, Stan.
Yeah.
Methodology around coaching, the study of physical fitness and movement. Very good. Analyzing to help player to team development, performance analysis. Thanks, Alan. Yeah. Psychology of sport. Thanks, Aaron. Maybe 10 more seconds. Yeah, nutrition, health, rest and recovery. Thanks, John. Physiology, etc. Yeah. Understanding the methodology and data. Yeah, data analysis, performance analysis behind sports. Collection of info to sport coaches. Game analysis. Excellent. Okay, thank you. So we have nutrition, lifestyle, recovery, physiology. Well, again, from a Gaelic Games family perspective, Aoife Lane has done an excellent job of pulling together a group of, I suppose, experts in their field who are passionate about Gaelic Games, and has broken it down into, I suppose, 6 different sports science disciplines. We have athletic development, or strength and conditioning for want of a better term, but athletic development is the preferred term because it's more all-encompassing. It does cover strength, but it also covers flexibility, mobility, speed, agility, physiotherapy and rehabilitation, nutrition, performance analysis, as some of you alluded to, skill acquisition and biomechanics. You know, again, dovetailing into the coaching piece, and psychology and well-being, as some people alluded to. So between Des, Eamon, Sharon, Denise, Phil, and Kate, who are leading each of those groups, what they've been charged with is looking at the player pathway, which is in the background there, and just mapping what good should look like when we're trying to support coaches in the player pathway as players come up through. So what does good look like from an athletic development point of view for a coach with an under-12 club team, or a coach with a minor club team, girls or boys, camogie, hurling, football, whatever the case may be? What does good nutrition look like, or good nutrition practice look like? You know, what's age appropriate and level appropriate? Again, as players move up through the pathway, and how can we better educate and support coaches on the ground with easy accessible information around both that's staggered and progressed, and, if you like, layered up as, you know, the players move up through the pathway. Obviously, I'm sure, as you will all appreciate, if and as a player transitions or has the opportunity to go into more of the talent part of the pathway, or even the elite part of the pathway, you know, the level of each of these sports science disciplines, in inverted commas, would be up a notch. And, you know, the expectation would be that it would be the practitioners, the experts themselves, if you like, that will be delivering the services. But the key point here for today is what this group is charged with is how can we embed good sports science practices and principles into the coach pathway that we've just talked through here, and supporting coaches in their education and their learning, coming back to that learning space. So the group, there's a working vision and a working definition around what it is for Gaelic Games: supporting healthy and holistic player development to facilitate coaches, parents and guardians and players to appropriately apply sports science in an integrated manner consistent with the values of our games. So it's using science and what we know from science to optimize participation, number one, performance and well-being. You know, so that's what the group is really working and striving for. And to share briefly, and I know we've some contributors later on in the conference today that are speaking about various parts of this, performance analysis being one, but this is all going to be embedded and is working towards being embedded with coaching. It's going to sit and underneath the coaching and coach development piece. So having the player pathway and the coaching pathway integrated. The last piece I'd like to share with you, and I suppose hopefully maybe tying all of this in, is what's happening next week in the Connacht NUIG Connacht GAA Air Dome. I don't know, has anyone seen any of the pictures or even got a chance to get down to actually see this world-class facility that Connacht now boasts? But we're very much, my intention and the belief from the group was we need to just zoom in on this critical part of the pathway. And as I said to you, I made the point just as we've transitioned out of the coach pathway, what can we do for club being core at the youth and the underage level to better support and really shine a light on supporting coaches in our clubs, in our schools, primary and secondary, around coaching and supporting the young players. So the focus of next week's conference is all about that. I suppose really importantly, and what's distinguishing it from other conferences is, yes, there is going to be, I suppose, and a knowledge share of information. We've three excellent keynote speakers, Liam Moggan being one of those. But also what we want to delve into because of the access and the resource we have in the Dome is how to coach and why the coaches are coaching the way they're going to coach. So Owen from Dublin GAA is on today and leading this piece, is going to be down delivering with Ger O'Connor as part of one of the 4 practical demonstrations. And what we're asking these coach practitioners to deliver and to showcase and to demonstrate is how to coach and why they're coaching the way they're coaching. Why they're sequencing drills or games the way they're sequencing them, and to share them with the participants. So it's, if you like, it's unpacking, and it's alluding to the session plans and what is being done, but how and why it's being done. Again, to just challenge that effectiveness piece and build on the knowledge, but just build on the context as well. So it is very much focused on the young player. It's the pathway focus. For people who, I'm going to share this with Owen and Laura again, if people haven't seen this, it is on our GAA website, but it breaks down each part of the player pathway, the key considerations for development and learning. And again, I know there's contributors on the conference later on today that are going to delve into this in more detail around the FTEM model. But you know, it's extension and refining of movement. That's the key focus. But the key providers of and support facilitators of that, yes, are the coaches, but it's also the parents and guardians, and it's also the teachers. So again, making sure that everyone is in that conversation, and we're really trying to do that and achieve that within this coaching conference next week. The conference isn't going to focus on the adult player. It is, as I alluded to, really going to focus on the youth player, girls and boys, camogie, ladies football, Gaelic Games. We'll have handball, rounders, inclusion, all there on the day as well. So it's a really Gaelic Games family supporting the youth player in our club's perspective of what good looks like, celebrating that. What it's going to be, that's a snapshot of the schedule. Who's going to be delivering what? Liam is going to, it's going to be led and opened up by Connacht's man, John Tobin, who's the chair of the National Games Development Committee. Our on Uachtaráin, Larry McCarthy is going to provide the opening address. Liam Moggan, who's the chair of the National Coach Advisory Committee, that again includes all members of the Gaelic Games family across LGFA, Camogie and the GAA, is going to lead out the first keynote. We're going to have two parallel practical demonstrations, a Go Games hurling one, led by Kevin Kelly, who's the Ulster GAA hurling manager, and also supported by Niall Williams, who's the Camogie Association's manager. We're also going to have a youth player panel discussion that's going to be chaired by Grania McElwain. We're going to have three members from the school community, the club community, and also the club and school community. So people that are wearing a couple of hats. Keynote number 2 then is Anya McNamara, who is going to speak about, you know, how the importance of good coaching and the impact that can have as players go up through the player pathway. We've 2 practical demonstrations then. The second set that Ger O'Connor from Dublin GAA is going to lead, and Owen is going to be there as well, supporting and leading on the day. And the parallel camogie and hurling one is led by Damien Coleman, who is the Connacht GAA hurling manager. So 45-50 minutes of quality practical demonstrations that are going to start with the coach outlining what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they're going to try and do it. There's going to be half times in each that coaches are going to come in and just you know, break down what they did in the first 15-20 minutes, and then there's going to be a review and a reflection piece at the end. So again, as a lot of people on the call would know already, you know, planning your session, actually doing and implementing it and having to tweak and adjust it, and also then reviewing it. We're trying to capture that sort of process in how the practical demonstrations are delivered on the day. So outlining what and the plan, delivering and how the coaching is being done, and then reviewing, you know, what happened, why it happened, and maybe what could be tweaked or improved for the next session. Just, you know, the similar good practice process that we're advocating across the board and across clubs around the country. The last keynote to share with you, I think is a really good one to finish, from Ronan Conway. Ronan has worked extensively in the SOAR Foundation for the last 9 or 10 years, working with young adolescents around the country, between 8,000 and 9,000 in schools and clubs, around just feeling belonging to their schools, belonging to their club's community. And what he's going to share with the coaches and those that are present is how we can, you know, maybe better connect and communicate with the young people that we're supporting and coaching. He, you know, he's not a sports psychologist, but he does have or a psychologist, or doesn't have a medical background, but what he does have is a very in-depth understanding of connecting with young people and understanding where they're coming from based on his experience in 9 and 10 years. He did work with Dublin footballers the year of their 5 in a row, and would have done some pieces of work in the background to support them in their journey to that. And he has worked more recently with the Irish men's rugby team as well, around, again, connection and feeling of belonging. So for me, we have it as part of our what we want. It's where we all belong, and feeling belonging to the club and the community we're from. So Ronan's going to speak on that. The last piece then is Shane Flanagan, our Director of Coaching and Games in the GAA, and he's going to close out the conference with, I suppose, a zooped up version of what I'm going through here around where we're going from a player and a coach development point of view, and how we intend supporting clubs, communities, and the volunteer coaches on the ground even better going forward. So I suppose the last piece is just to zoom in on, we all see these and have access to these. And again, these are on the, accessible on the internet, online, on our GAA resources, Gaelic Games Family. These cards are just snapshots or samples of what coaches can refer to when, you're mapping out your session plans, you're seeing what the teaching points are. But again, just to, I suppose, hammer home the point, the key differentiator, and maybe tying back to the conference, is how we coach, how players experience the environments that we're setting up for them, and we're delivering and being a role model for ourselves, and in our rapport with them, how we're explaining, how we're demonstrating, how we're observing, how we're providing feedback. So I suppose the essence of the conference and why those practicals are there, if you like, at the heart of it, is on that how-to coach piece, and why we're doing what we're doing. Is it effective? If it is, why is it effective? And just trying to get share those messages in a community of practice type setting down in the Connacht NUIG Airdome next Saturday morning. Is it age and stage appropriate? Is it based on the game? Are we just setting up training with activities, or are we coaching the players? Is it challenging players individually? Are we telling them what to do? Are we, helping the players find the answers themselves by asking really good questions and facilitating good learning that way? So all of these things, I suppose, we're challenging ourselves and hopefully challenging the people that are going to be there on the day. Anyone who comes next week, and tickets are still on sale, I'd really encourage it. It is a bit of a road trip, but we've all been maybe locked up extensively for the last 18 months. It's going to be a brilliant day, and there's great people delivering, but hopefully, like all the conferences that people have gone to prior, it's the connecting with people nearly outside of the keynotes and outside of the practicals that is as valuable. Liam Moggan, from an observation point of view, is arming us with a culture reflection piece such as this, that again, will help the coach learners that are there, the coaches that are there, to reflect on the practical sessions that they're watching and observing around building rapport, creating that environment or climate. And again, is it actually changing behavior or having an impact on the young players that we're trying to support? So coming back maybe to what I started with, what is good coaching? Well, yes, it is very much, and will continue to be, it's acquiring of knowledge, and it's picking up knowledge from, I suppose, all walks of life, and lessons from mothers like my own, and coaches that we've all had before, and information online, going to really excellent conferences like the one that Owen, Laura, and Ger and the team have set up today. But it's also about getting out and getting experience, learning, making mistakes, learning, tweaking, reviewing, going again. But it's also, I suppose, most importantly as well, it's understanding why we're doing what we're doing. So if there's one maybe key take home, it's having that bit of a reflection around that. And again, I know that this is going to come up later on, but just developing our ability to and our awareness of the decisions we're making and the judgments we're making around what we're doing on the pitches has a big impact, and can have a really big impact. And I think, I believe that's at the back of people's minds anyway, but it's just to sort of shine a light on that today. And we're very cognizant of that now going forward. And hopefully you will see more and more as a Gaelic Games family that's what the focus is. How can we support the volunteer coach workforce as well as we can, who have a lot on them in life and time constraints, etc., to any learning opportunities that we put in front of people. Are we helping them be more effective and have a more enjoyable experience down in their clubs, in their schools, in their communities around the country, and obviously around the units around the world? So that is me today. I just wanted to say thank you very much for the opportunity for Owen and from Ger and from Laura to ask me to come in. I've given a bit of maybe a whistle stop tour of what my own role is, what the coach and player pathways are, and what they're, I suppose, intending to be over the next couple of months and couple of years. And just to say, reach out. You have my name and hopefully my email address after this. I'd love if I met one or two of you down at the conference next week. I'll share the link for tickets and that with Owen and with Laura after this. And there is 2 tickets. There's 2 tickets worth €50 each for anyone, or sorry, for a draw for people who put in comments and questions there today. So I think we had maybe 25 or 30 odd comments or questions. So those people will go into a draw for 2 tickets, and hopefully we'll see you guys down there. Thanks very much, Owen. Thank you, Laura.
Top class, Martin. If you just want to unshare your screen there. So just before we go into the questions, yeah, Martin, that's class. I put into the chat function, folks. We just retweeted the link for next Saturday's conference. If you want to purchase tickets, those people who are drawn out, me and Laura will be in contact with you later on today. So fingers crossed for everybody. Top class engagement. Absolutely excellent. Just before we do get into the questions from some of our attendees, I have a question for you, Martin. Top class presentation. Thank you so much. One of the things that really jumped out at me was the research behind what you're talking about and what you were covering today, especially around the knowledge, expertise, and obviously the why. So just in relation to that, I know from Andy Abraham's research that he's done, and obviously being at Leeds Beckett as well, and Andy was involved, as you know yourself, at the Coach Developer day that we did in October. So you talked about, again, the research in terms of why and making sure that you have your own knowledge base, who you're coaching, what you're coaching, how you're coaching. So I have a question for you, Martin. What's your why? And why do you coach the way you coach? I know you talked about, obviously, the people who influenced you, but what's your why?
Thank you. Nice put on the spot question for a Saturday morning. My why is I suppose I would have really loved playing Gaelic games, and I wouldn't have considered myself a very good player, but I love the game. I enjoy playing, and I had to give up because of injury. I did 2 cruciate ligaments and a couple of concussions for good measure, and I just found coaching to be just a very close second. I just got a massive joy and a kick out of coaching and just being on the pitch. And to be honest, it didn't matter. You know, I'm down supporting when I can with the St. Bridget's under 11s, the under 8s or the under 9s too. And it's just engaging with young people who are enjoying being down. And I just get a massive bit of, selfishly get a massive bit of satisfaction and enjoyment from that on. It's not absolutely the same as playing, but I just really enjoy it. And I had a business a couple of years ago, and I purposely had the tagline for it being enjoy your journey, because I really believe that. I just felt it was a privilege and an honor to be, you know, at the top of a room or in the middle of a group where you could sort of shape or facilitate a good environment for people. And I just enjoyed that responsibility and got a kick from it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, Martin. Top class. Thank you very much. Laura?
So I have a question for you myself. First of all, that was a great presentation. Really enjoyed it. So you know, how kind of Gaelic coaches are usually volunteers, and they might be down there out of necessity because the kids are down there and they have to be down there on a Saturday morning. So they get involved in coaching that. Coaches who are there out of necessity to kind of want to upskill and to want to, you know, get involved in maybe coaching courses and kind of get better for the sake of the development as well.
Sorry, Laura, I missed one part of that. Sorry, apologies.
Sorry, so how do you get them to kind of, how do you instill that kind of want to upskill, basically?
I think as I tried to outline in the learning space, and what we all need to try and consider is how can we make it as accessible and as engaging as possible. And we know people, myself, and I'm sure you guys are included, are quite time poor the way life is going. There's an awful lot of distractions in that. So I think with the learning opportunities and the offerings that we're giving people, I think we are going to be acknowledging learning in different ways. Yes, it's going to be the formal education that we've always had, but it's also, learning is also just chatting with a coach down in the club and having an informal or formalized structured community of practice, having that in place. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go and do, after you've done your introduction to coaching Gaelic games, you don't need to do, 20 or 30 more hours of formal education. But what you can do is pick up, pieces along the way on your learning journey, having chats with coaches, more experienced coaches or mentors in your club, being part of maybe a community of practice with one or two of the age groups within your club as well, asking for help from more experienced coaches or guidance, attending workshops or seminars such as this that are geared specifically towards the group and the age group that you're working with. So I think there's an onus and a responsibility on us to, I suppose, filter a little bit, Laura, the learning opportunities for volunteer coaches and nearly point and direct them and guide them. You don't need to know all this stuff. These are the one or two key bits you need, and just focus your half an hour, your 45 minutes on that over the next 2 or 3 months. And if you learn this and that's going to help you next Tuesday or for the next couple of weeks, and we'll review it then. So what we're trying to, what the coach development team and what everyone is doing in the counties and the provinces around the country is just taking little steps back and seeing how we can make learning opportunities that bit more accessible for the volunteer coaches, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Top class, Martin. So next question is from Peter. So probably goes into a little bit of psychological focus maybe. So what's the best way to teach the ability to deal with on-field pressure?
Where are we at? The ability to deal with on-field pressure. What's the best way to do that? So pressure in a game or a match situation?
I would say that's probably where he's come from, probably around, again, the environment and kind of what you maybe discussed earlier on about getting to know the players.
Yeah, I think that does. Yeah, that comes down to how we coach as well and the environment we set up. And one of the coaches I alluded to earlier on, Noel McNamara, who is a professional rugby coach, he's working in South Africa now at the moment with a South African franchise. But I would have seen this in Gaelic games, but it became even more obvious to me watching Noel in particular in action was, train and prepare or practice how you want to play. So if you're at a level, whether it's going up through the youth pathway into minors or under 20s or into the adult senior end, and you need to perform or learn to perform under pressure, under challenge, you need to simulate that in an appropriate way in how you train and how you practice. And again, as a coach, you should have the knowledge on how to do that, the experience of when to do it and when not to do it within a given week or a given part of your training block. But if your intention is, and your hope and your plan is that your players, young or old, you want them to be able to perform well and nearly enjoy performing and relishing performing under pressure, you need to let them practice and facilitate them practicing that in how you set up your environments and your training. That's just an overview answer, if that's okay.
Top class. So, Laura, do you want to ask the next one?
So Aidan asks about your thoughts on how important children's play is within sports and how coaches can incorporate more active play within their sessions at a younger age level.
So I think play is absolutely massively important, hugely important. I'm a father, a balding father of 4 young boys, so I can see how important play is for them, Laura, and for their mental and their physical and cognitive health. What I would say, yes, we definitely do need to incorporate it maybe a little bit more into our sporting environments. The onus is on us as coaches, maybe as role models, as people with a little bit of knowledge to share with parents and guardians around the importance of play. And we need to sort of pepper it across our sessions at the appropriate age groups. We need to make sure at every level that there's an element of play and obviously fun. What I'd sort of asterisk that with, though, is that play is going to be experienced differently for people as they go up through the pathway. So it doesn't necessarily mean for people to be playing and having fun. It doesn't mean everyone's going to be going around with a smile on their face, but fun can be just people being challenged in a good way, and there's an enjoyment to that. And I'd also say that I think that we have an opportunity within the Gaelic Games family to promote play outside of the Gaelic game, of the club and the school, you know, on the greens and the you know, the roads, the cul-de-sacs around the country. I know it's something we've tried to do in our own local community. You know, there's nearly a group of parents that sort of rotate, or guardians that rotate around, you know, just lightly supervising play on the green during the year. We've actually invested in a set of floodlights there last year, just so the kids could play safely for half an hour, free play, not coached or done anything like that, just in the green. I think when they come down to the clubs or the schools, that's going to be more structured, and it's going to be more coach led by us. So I do think it's important that we protect and support them having time to just do their own thing, and we're sort of facilitating that, as well as doing the sort of structured play that we're going to do in our coaching. So I think we need both, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'd kind of reiterate that in terms of, and the person who asked that question works in the play space as well. Eddie Burns works for Play NI. And that's a really good point, Martin, in terms of supporting the coaches, supporting the parents as well, because play and being able to coach through play and question in terms of my own research, I'm very comfortable in that space. But it's a case of then having the confidence to do it as well, because it is absolute chaos, and that chaos can be very frightening for coaches as well, especially as you talked about in your presentation. Most of the coaches at that younger age group are new parents or new coaches.
Yeah.
So, you know, they shouldn't be expected to have completely or know about play, how to incorporate play into your sessions, but simply by one really good reason and one really good way of doing it is what you talked earlier on, is asking questions, and that's adhering to Article 12 and the rights of the child. By asking them a question, asking them their opinion, you're hitting that international right for children. Yeah. So then once you get that, they might want to have well, how would you change the game? They'd be changing the game themselves, you're facilitating it, and then that's the play element. Then they'll get more confidence from that. The children will as well. So as you said, it's probably slow and steady wins the race in that sense.
No, that's an excellent point on, and you'll be a lot more au fait with it than I would. So 100% down in the coaching environment, it's understanding, how we can incorporate it in an appropriate way that challenges the child and facilitates their learning through play and through the coaching session itself. Yeah, very good, fair point.
Top class. Folks, just in terms of time, so I know that there's a couple of questions. So Donald, I seen your question, it's in the chat function, and Greg as well, it's in the chat function. Now, what we're going to do is you're all going to get a contact from each presenters if you want to ask a question afterwards. However, I'm being very tight on this. If it's not in the chat, if it's not in the Q&A function, we're not going to ask it, even if it is there on time. So apologies for that, and you probably wouldn't have seen my comment at the start anyway. So that question that you have, we'll have it, and I can send on to Martin later on. But also you'll have Martin's contacts, so you might be able to ask him a question as well during the week. Sure. So we're going to move on. Martin, thank you so much. Absolutely brilliant. Again, everybody will get Martin's presentation. You'll get the recording as well as the links also.